All right, before we get into this, yesterday was the Super Bowl, and I know Unc was yelling at the TV. Pops probably thought he was a professional coach. And today, everybody got opinions about the players, teams, and the game that they did not have last week. Cool. The game is over. I see some of the commercials still trending, and I know somebody is still crying over them parlays that ain't hit. And everybody still had to wake up today and deal with their attachment issues. And guess what? Valentine's is Saturday. Plus, these are the only 28 days allotted for Black history. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk Black love. Here's the thing nobody prepared us for. Attachment is bigger than romance. It didn't start on dating apps. It definitely didn't start with that toxic ass ex of yours. And it for damn sure didn't start with you discovering the words avoidant and narcissist on TikTok back in 2016 and thinking you cracked the code. Attachment shows up anywhere you seek safety. I'm going to say it one more time, so please take notes. Attachment shows up anywhere you seek safety. That's money, work, friendships, leadership, family, community, and especially in love. Attachment be pulling up to the function before intentions even got a chance to wake up. And that's why people be extremely successful and emotionally still a damn child. Now, this is where shit gets a little tricky. We live in an era where nobody taught us emotional literacy, but now everybody is diagnosing themselves and everybody else. Now everybody's avoidant, everybody's anxious, everybody had a type, everybody got PTSD, but there's no structure, there's no context, just buzzwords and self-awareness captions. And no cap, self-awareness without responsibility is just information with no transformation, no growth. So let's zoom out for real. A lot of what we now call attachment styles are really survival strategies that once worked, and then you made them the blueprint for your entire life, especially in Black households. We learned early how to read the room and stay out the way. Don't ask for too much. Don't be too needy. Handle things yourself. So now, as adults, we detach, we disappear, we go quiet and stay distant, avoid conflict, and keep our guard up. And then we call that independence. But let's be fucking for real. That's also what y'all like to label as avoidant attachment. Let's clock it. And listen, it's not because they don't care, and it's not because they're heartless. It's because closeness and intimacy and vulnerability never felt safe long enough to actually relax into. And then on the flip side, some of us learn safety by becoming everything for everybody. You gotta be useful, make sure you're needed, the strong one, the one everybody calls, the fixer, the savior. So you overfunction and you overgive and you overexplain and you overextend and you overprioritize at work, in friendships, in your relationships, in your family, and then you get mad when nobody shows up for you. That's what y'all like to label as anxious attachment. Yeah, let's clock that too. And listen, it's not because they're clingy or they're desperate to be liked. It's because consistency felt unstable growing up. So they learn to hold on tight to anything that makes them feel valued. Let's bring in the Black history. Let's bring in Black history into context. No sugarcoating shit. We got the school to prison pipeline, over-sexualized in media and music before puberty, profiled as thugs, lazy, loud, aggressive, irresponsible, Black excellence portrayed only through athletes and entertainers, Black boys criminalized early, Black girls adultified early, economic stress, families overworked, communities over police, absentee fathers, single mother households. Our emotions literally suppressed for survival. And we could take it all the way back to the separations of slavery. So attachment became about holding on and giving everything you got, or shutting down completely, withdrawing, withholding. It got a few new names, but this ain't new. This has always been survival. And now we see the programming everywhere. In the entrepreneur who could build multi-billion dollar, multi-million dollar brands but can't ask for help for their mental wellness. In the artist who pours their entire soul into their work but is emotionally fragmented or just emotionally disappears. In the athletes who are disciplined as hell on the field and court but completely emotionally dysfunctional and shut down in intimacy. In our mothers, especially our single mothers, and even more so, our married single mothers who hold everything together but never get held. In our children who grew up way too fast, forced to be quiet, praised for acting tough, because a child needing anything feels dangerous. That's not personality. That's not even identity. That's attachment. Now here's where it's about to escalate. Because while these patterns show up when things are good, they really take center stage when things start going bad, especially during sickness, loss, grief, mental illness, addiction, depression, and I know this one personally, suicide. That's when you really see how people attach. Some disappear when things get heavy, some overfunction until they collapse. Some completely avoid hospitals, funerals, and the conversations altogether. Some cling tighter and panic when people pull away. Some even use the circumstances to gain attention or control. Meanwhile, everybody calling it strength until somebody is dead and nobody knows how to talk about it. So how do we know the difference? Here's the cheat code. Avoidant looks like I'm good. When you're not you're going silent instead of speaking, leaving before being left. Independence, but you also feel lonely. Anxious looks like over texting instead of just asking directly, over giving instead of setting boundaries, needing assurance, but then feeling ashamed for it, and then panicking when distance shows up. Different branches, but same root. Fear of losing safety. I'm going to say it again, so take notes. This is the fear of losing safety. Now, this part matters. Attachment patterns are not character flaws. They're adaptations. But just because something helped you survive doesn't mean it should run your life forever. Growth is necessary to move from surviving to thriving. And just because you're functioning in real life doesn't mean you're connected in real love. So before we start labeling ourselves, everybody else, and their mama, before we start diagnosing our exes and our parents and turning therapy terms into insults, we gotta ask a better question. Where did I learn that this is how love works? Because how you attach at work is how you attach in relationships. How you attach to success is how you attach to people. And how you protect yourself is usually how you push love away. Sometimes traumatically, oftentimes quietly. We're not even at the romance part yet. An attachment is already this big. And once you really see how big it is, hopefully you stop shaming yourself. You stop villainizing others, and you start deciding what patterns you're ready to outgrow. Period. Now we build from here. All right, so now that we've clocked how big attachment really is, here's where us Black folk usually get uncomfortable. Because once you see attachment outside of romance, you start realizing, oh shit, this is not just about who and how I date. This is about how I move in life, period. At work, in leadership, in my friendships, in family, and in the community. And especially in Black spaces where survival been the programming for generations. But for real though, attachment shows up really loud in work. You ever notice how some people can't rest unless they feel productive? They always grinding, always busy, always booked. They always on one. And it's not even because they love the work like that, but because stillness feels unsafe. If I'm not useful, am I valuable? If I'm not producing, am I still worthy? If I slow down, will I be forgotten? That's not ambition, that's attachment wearing a suit. Now, on the flip side, you got grown folk who hate authority, can't stand structure, can't commit to a role, can't take feedback without getting defensive. And then they have the nerve to call it independence. Or they call it, I don't like being controlled. Or I just move different. But deadass, that's also attachment. It's from when power once felt unsafe. So now they learn how to stay untouchable. They think it's leadership, but it's just protection. They want to feel safe. Now let's talk about friendships, because this is where it gets a little messy. Some of us only feel safe when we're needed. So we become the listener, the therapist, the planner, the rescuer, the savior. You'll answer every call, you send along paragraphs, and you hold space for everybody else. But when you need something, and instead of addressing it, you tell yourself, it's cool, I got it. No. You learn to disappear emotionally before anyone could disappoint you. And that's not loyalty, that's attachment. Then you got the complete opposite. The friend who vanishes when things get real. As soon as you express some emotion, distance. As soon as you ask for some clarity, silence. As soon as you need support, all of a sudden they busy or they tired and overwhelmed. They're not evil. They're not fake. They just never learned how to stay present when closeness required vulnerability. And that's not being low maintenance. That's avoidant attachment in real life action. Let's bring this into leadership, especially Black leadership, because this one don't get talked about enough. A lot of Black leaders learned early, don't show weakness. Don't let them see you sweat. You got to be twice as good. So now they lead from armor. They micromanage, they over-control, they use. They don't delegate, they don't train, and they don't trust. And it's not because they're power hungry. It's because at one point being unsupported cost them something very real, like opportunities or career protection. It probably cost them some money or maybe their respect. So now they hold everything tight. And that's not just control issues. It's attachment shaped by career history. And yes, this shows up heavy in Black men because Black men were taught, don't cry, don't need, don't depend on nobody, don't ask for nothing, don't be weak. So emotional distance becomes discipline. Silence becomes strength. Withholding becomes self-respect. Withdrawing is self-preservation. Until intimacy asks you to show up in order to receive love and you don't know how. Now they call you cold, detached, emotionally unavailable, selfish, avoidant, or even a narcissist. But nobody taught you emotional fluency. They only taught you survival. Now, Black women, you ain't getting off that easy. Whew. Most of us learned attachment through responsibility, holding it together, raising everybody, being the backbone, taking care of others, being strong. So now love feels like labor, connection feels like work, rest feels guilty, and self-care feels selfish. Asking for help feels very unsafe, and that's not a great personality. That's attachment conditioned by expectation. Now, here's the part folks are not going to like to hear, but attachment isn't good or bad. It's about what's familiar or unfamiliar. And your nervous system will always choose what it recognizes, even if what it recognizes is manipulation and drama. Even if what it recognizes is inconsistency and distance. That's why most of y'all love to say, I don't know how I keep ending up here. Yes, you do. Your body does. And your mind keeps choosing what feels familiar and comfortable instead of choosing the change that comes with growth. Here's the truth. This is why secure attachment feels boring to most Black couples. Black people in general. It's too calm, too consistent, too steady, way too safe. There's no anxiety spikes, no emotional roller coaster, no guessing games, no thrill. Then you say there's no chemistry. No. That's just your nervous system not being activated by drama and stress for once. Peace and love feels very unfamiliar when drama and chaos raised you. So if you ever wondered why I overgive and then resent, why do I disappear instead of speaking up, why do I crave closeness and then push it away, why do I want love but don't feel safe receiving it, that's not you broken. That's attachment doing what it was programmed to do. Now here's the shift. Once you see attachment clearly, you stop asking what's wrong with me and you start asking, who taught me this was safe? That one question changes everything because awareness isn't the only goal. The ultimate goal is choice. Mind you, we still ain't even get to the romance part yet. We just setting the foundation, like literally just setting the foundation. Because before you could love differently, you got to attach differently. And that starts with accepting the truth and telling the truth about what your body was programmed to do before you ever started living your adult life. Period. All right, let's keep going. All right. Now that we've clocked how attachment runs our work life, our friendships, our leadership, our parenting, now we talk about romance. Because this is where attachment gets dumb loud, petty, poetic, and painful all at the same damn time. For real, Black love doesn't fail because we don't love hard enough. It breaks because we bring survival habits into spaces where we need safety habits. So here's the part none of us likes to admit. A lot of us don't know how to communicate in love. We know how to react. We know how to protect. We know how to withdraw. We know how to argue. We know how to perform relational duties. We know how to perform being unbothered. But communicate? Nah. Because communication requires vulnerability, and that requires removing the emotional armor, the same armor that has allowed you to survive. So, what do we do instead? We hint, we subpost, we get quiet and call it peace. We explode and call it honesty. We say, I'm cool when we're not. We say, do you when we're actually hurt and want to be understood. We say, it's whatever when it's very much something very real. And then we sit back waiting for somebody to figure us out. Like, seriously? Dead ass, that is not communication. That's emotional charades. And this is where attachment styles start masquerading as personality traits. We like to call it, I'm just private. I'm not emotional like that. I don't like confrontation. I don't do drama. I don't chase. I just move different. But if we're being for real, some of that is, I don't feel safe saying what I need. I don't trust people to stay. I learned love disappears when I speak up. I learned closeness costs too much. I was programmed not to trust. That's not vibes. That's attachment. Now, on the flip side, we got folks who say, I just want reassurance. I just want consistency. I just want communication. But how it comes out is, why you ain't text me back? Why you ain't answer my call? You acting different. Why you need space? Who you with? Why are you pulling away? And if we're being honest with ourselves, that's not because they're needy. That's because unpredictability wired their nervous system to panic. Your body learned closeness can disappear at any moment, so hold on tighter. That's attachment too. Now here's where this shit really messes us up. Instead of naming the patterns, we label the people. Avoidant, anxious, toxic, narcissist, emotionally unavailable, crazy, broken. We literally slap diagnoses on people instead of having grown conversations about needs, limits, and capacity, because labels feel safer than accountability. All right, now let's be fucking for real. Some people are really unsafe. Some people are dangerously manipulative. Some people are extremely abusive. We are not excusing harmful people, but we gotta stop calling every emotional discomfort abuse and every boundary abandonment. Sometimes the truth is simpler and harder. Two nervous systems learn love differently, and now nobody slowed down enough to understand. This is why conflict feels so dangerous in Black relationships, because historically, conflict came with serious consequences. Conflict meant violence, it meant abandonment, it meant punishment, it meant silence, loss of resources, loss of safety. So we learned avoid it, suppress it, explode later, or just leave. Here's the part we don't realize though. Avoiding conflict doesn't create peace. It creates distance. And distance doesn't heal attachment wounds. It deepens them. That's why some of us would rather end a relationship than have one hard conversation. We'll ghost, disappear, convince ourselves it just wasn't it. Not because we didn't care, but because conflict feels unsafe. Because for a lot of us, hard conversations leads to yelling, withdrawal, punishment, verbal abuse, or abandonment. So when tension shows up, our nervous system says, exit immediately. We would rather start over with someone new than renegotiate safety with someone familiar, because starting over feels clean. No history, no accountability, no emotional debt. Repair feels risky because repair requires staying present when you don't know the outcome. And for many of us, staying present once meant getting hurt. So leaving feels like protection. Now, on the flip side, some of us will stay in a relationship way too long just to avoid the same exact hard conversation. You'll endure confusion, you'll endure loneliness, endure disrespect, endure unmet needs, endure putting your life on hold, all so that you don't have to risk rocking the boat. Because for you, repair doesn't feel risky, loss does. Loss of history, loss of time, loss of identity, loss of the version of yourself that tried so hard to make it work. So instead of ending it, you shrink. You stop asking, you stop expecting, you stop naming what hurts. You tell yourself, at least I'm not alone. At least it's familiar. At least I know what to expect. That's not loyalty. That's fear dressed up as commitment. So whether you're the one who leaves too fast or you're the one who stays too long, different branch, same root. One avoids repair by escaping. The other avoids repair by enduring. Both are trying to protect themselves from losing safety. And yet still, neither of them is going to actually get the safety they actually need. Because real safety isn't found in leaving early or staying silent. It's built in the middle, in the uncomfortable conversation, in the honest repair, in the moment where both people decide, I'm not running and I'm not disappearing either. That's the work. That's the part survival could never teach us. That's the part nobody posts to help us understand. And that's why attachment keeps showing up loud in love and in life. And this is also where Black love specifically struggles, because we were taught endurance, not repair. We were taught to push through, hold it down, be strong. Don't tell nobody your business. Don't look weak. Don't air your shit out. So we endure relationships instead of learning how to maintain them. Here's the truth we gotta sit with. Love without transparent communication is manipulation and control. Love without safety and security triggers anxiety. Love without repair triggers resentment. Love without structure turns into survival. And survival will never be romance. It's just staying alive together. So when people say love shouldn't be this hard, they're half right. Love requires effort, but it should not require self-abandonment. If you gotta silence yourself to keep someone, that's not love. If you have to run in order to keep someone, that's not love. That's fair negotiating. And this part matters. Secure love isn't loud. It doesn't spike your anxiety. It doesn't keep you guessing. It doesn't require mind reading. It doesn't punish honesty. It feels calm. It feels peaceful. And calm and peaceful feels boring when drama and trauma raised you. So if secure love ever felt off to you, too slow, too steady, too peaceful, that doesn't mean it wasn't real. It most likely means your nervous system doesn't recognize peace yet. Now, before anybody starts spiraling, this is not about blaming yourself. This is not about blaming your parents. This is not about blaming your ex. This is about you seeing yourself and those around you clearly. Because once you see the pattern, you can choose differently. And choice is where power in love and life actually lives. In the next part, we're going to talk about what secure attachment actually looks like in real life. not the IG TikTok version, not the therapy terms version either. The lived experience version. How it shows up in conflict, in consistency, in repair, and in Black relationships that are trying to unlearn survival without losing each other and move into thriving together. All right, let's go. Now that we've talked about escape and we've talked about endurance, this is the part nobody really wants to hear. Secure attachment is not a personality trait. It's not something you just are. It's a consistent practice. And most of us were never shown what that looks like in real life. Not on TV, not in our families, not in our communities. Especially not in Black love. Secure attachment looks boring to people raised on drama. No cap, it looks like talking things out instead of blowing up. Addressing shit immediately instead of letting it sit and rot. Staying present when your body wants to run. Not disappearing, not overperforming, not proving your worth through suffering. And to a nervous system raised on survival, that feels fake. It feels awkward, suspicious. It feels unsafe. Peace literally feels like a setup when drama raised you. So a lot of us say we want healthy love, but our bodies still crave the intensity of chaos. We want connection, but only if it comes with the adrenaline rush of some drama. We want intimacy, but only if it doesn't require intentionally slowing down and being vulnerable. We want safety, but only if it doesn't feel unfamiliar or boring. What a fucking contradiction. Secure attachment isn't loud, dramatic, and chaotic. It doesn't spike your anxiety. It doesn't keep you guessing. It doesn't require constant reassurance. It doesn't punish you for having real needs. It doesn't punish you for being honest. Secure attachment looks like clear communication, repair after conflict, accountability without shame and guilt, boundaries without abandonment. And yeah, that shit takes practice and patience, because for most of us, when things get hard, we default. Some of us default to silence. Some of us default to over-explaining. Some of us default to leaving. Some of us default to fixing everything ourselves. That's not random. That's your nervous system saying, this is what kept me safe before. But here's the grown part. What kept you safe in your ego won't keep you connected in love. What helped you survive in ego won't help you thrive in love. At some point, you gotta decide, am I protecting myself or am I blocking connection? Am I being independent or am I avoiding vulnerability? Am I being loyal or am I just afraid to be alone? No judgment, just honesty. Now let me be real about this too. Secure attachment does not mean you never get triggered and you never get scared and you never want to run away. It means that you notice it before it takes you over. It means that you pause, you breathe. You stay and you speak. Even when your body wants to revert to the old programming. This is why attachment work is not just about romance. It's about how you show up when things get uncomfortable, how you handle feedback and constructive criticism, how you deal with disappointment and disagreements, how you respond to loss and grief, how you ask for help and consideration, how you receive peace and love. It shows up at work. It shows up in leadership, in friendships, in parenting, in community, but especially in our romantic relationships. It shows up everywhere safety matters. So before you label yourself avoidant, before you label yourself anxious, before you diagnose your ex, before you turn therapy terms into insults, ask yourself one real question. What am I actually afraid will happen if I stay present? Because the goal isn't to never be triggered. The goal isn't to become perfect. The goal is to stop letting yesterday's survival strategies decide how you love and live today. Attachment never starts with romance, but romance will expose attachment the quickest. And secure attachment, that's not about finding the right person. That's about becoming safe enough to build something real without running or losing yourself in the process. Period. That's it. Now sit with that.